for many years, and now I'm stepping out of that shell and doing something on my own.
Yeah, I admired the Beach Boys a lot, particularly Pet Sounds. That was my favorite album.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were older, then we wouldn't have to wait so long?
In the making of this record, once in a while I'll say, what is my thanks? What is my thanks? I'll hit myself in the head.
It's a wonderful album, and I'm just thrilled that Brian wrote and produced and starred in this album.
Brian's record is every bit as good as any of the records that the Beach Boys ever made.
He was more at home in the studio than he was on stage.
People to feel they're covered spiritually, you know what I mean? So that when they listen to the music, they'll get a secure feeling, plus they won't even realize they're being loved, you know? It's like a mother who takes care of a kid. Half the time the kid isn't really fully aware of what's going on, you know? It's called spiritual love in my eyes.
Love and mercy, that's what you need tonight.
I didn't make a solo album until just recently because of the fact that I didn't want to hurt the Beach Boys' feelings. But I don't know. I think I was too worried about what somebody felt, you know, to do my own thing. I would sacrifice my own thing for somebody else's feelings. I'm not exactly like that anymore.
In this edition of Cover Story with Brian Wilson, we visited the singer-composer, creator of the Beach Boys sound at his Malibu beach house. Brian and his brothers Carl and Dennis grew up in Hawthorne, California, 5 miles from the Pacific Ocean, where Brian began creating the unique Beach Boy harmonies in the family garage. In 1961, Mike Love and Al Jardine joined the Wilson brothers, and Brian wrote Surfin', which launched a tidal wave in popular music called the Beach Boys. In the next 4 years, Brian wrote and produced 12 albums for the Beach Boys. 10 of them went gold, and the group had no less than 24 top 40 singles, which firmly established Brian Wilson in rock and roll's Hall of Fame. In 1968, Brian Wilson found a lonely beach for himself and spent 20 years in semi-retirement. Now, after 26 years of creating music for other people, Brian Wilson has created and performed his own solo album.
Well, I learned about harmonics through the Four Freshmen music, and then from there, Chuck Berry was sort of an idol. Then Phil Spector came along, and nothing's cooled down inside my brain ever since he came along, you know? It's always been like something, whoa, you know, like kind of like an eye-opener kind of music for me, you know? Of course, I had my own style. I'm not saying I copied his style, but I have my own style, too. But there are influences we give each other. The artists in the business influence each other all the time. It was easy. It was fun. I could tell the way Mike and I worked as collaborators. I could tell the way it felt for us to be together. That there was something going on. I don't know what, but there was something going on between us. But I thought something was going to happen.
Well, we tried to copy them as much as possible. Everyone was plagiarizing as much as they could, you know. Let's get that Beatles sound. Let's get that Beach Boy sound. Let's get that Mamas and Papas sound. If we could have done a song that we thought was just like something off of Pet Sounds, we would have been thrilled to death to do it. I don't know that we accomplished that. I don't think that we really consciously ever did. But everyone subconsciously influenced one another.
Maybe it's because Brian has been deaf in one ear since he was a little boy, but he always believed film would enhance the Beach Boys' music. So long before MTV, Brian was making music videos for the Beach Boys to give us a visual sense of his music.
I never considered Good Vibration a song. You know, I considered it a record. You know, the tightness of the record. The record was so tight, you know, that I just knew we had a hit when we did that one.
Brian really liked to produce records, and he was more at home in the studio than he was on stage. So he decided not to go on the road anymore and just stay in the studio and do what he loved to do. And that meant he was in the studio probably 5 to 6 days a week himself.
One of the important things about Beach Boys music is that it made people feel like they were at the beach, like they were in California, like the whole magical mystery was happening to them, even when they weren't at the beach.
I like quitting the Beach Boys at all. I just want to make sure that when we, as Beach Boys, hit the stage, that it's right on, and that the crowd is there, the music is there, flowing, the crowd's there, eating it up, you know.
Girls are hit by really dig those styles they wear.
It's an amazing thing, you know, music when you, all it is just a recording, you know, it's not really the live performance of a record, it's a recording of an event. When you go back into time, you risk serious depression on picking up a record that was associated with something bad or depressing in that time of your life, you know. That's why I don't play too many old records that much, you know. I play them, but I play them with a real discreet ear, you know. I won't let myself sink back into the times. I went through a thing where I thought I'd lost it, and it was kind of scary, you know. But I regained it back, but having felt that I lost it was a very depressing thing. And it was a momentary thing. It might have lasted for 2-3 months at the most, you know. But during those 2-3 months, it was the hardest 2-3 months I ever lived, you know. I basically just withdrew from people, you know.
First met Brian's desire was to have no interaction with anyone. So there was something like 36, 38 different therapists that he'd been to on the traditional process before they got to me. And it was obvious that traditional methodology wasn't going to work. So I had to take it out of the therapy room and move it into real life. And I've been grateful for that experience, that exchange.
He was most distressed by the shape I was in, and he had to take me to Hawaii and put me on intravenous vitamins every day, you know, for like 2 months. And started me walking up a hill instead of running. He just had me walk. And I was losing 1.5 pounds a day, you know, real fast. I was throwing it off real fast. And he said, you know, Brian, I think you're going to make it. I think you're going to be okay. You know?
This is all about enjoying his life and doing something which makes him feel significant to himself. In this case, happens to be music. Brian has not really been rehabilitated because that would have put him back where he was. Brian's been habilitated. He's been put in a new place with new start and new situation. He looks at life with some new eyes and all the experience that he's had in life and some new views about it.
I was sitting in a crummy movie with my hands on my chin.
But basically, when I'm working in the studio, it's like a carte blanche feeling. I figure, what is this, you know? I can't believe this. Here I am cutting music, and all this magic music's coming out those speakers, you know? It's like a newfound power. It's a tool, a toy, you know? I have an overview of this, and it's pliable. It's like putty. I've got some putty in my hands, and I'm working with this putty, and I feel it, and I get a feel, oh, there it is, you know, I've located something in the putty, and I work with it real slowly, you know? But it is something I do out of extreme pride in my craft. You know? My craft means a lot to me. It really does.
Made a new movie that he says
Dr. Landy, whose name is Eugene E. Landy, put me on a regimen, which was hard to do, but nonetheless it was something that was unavoidable at the time. What he wanted to do was have me lose weight and then change my body chemistry so that it was from one chemistry to an entirely new, clean, healthy chemistry, you know, which is hell for me to do. And anybody would admit there's a little hell involved in changing over chemistries. So that's what happened there. That's how we came to be, and there was a friendship that was developing over the years through psychiatry, through his psychology and his therapy, his 24-hour therapy. And we came to know each other and grow fond of each other's abilities as creators and so on like that of music. And it was, yes, it's only been, what, 5.5 years now? That's not very long to be with somebody, you know.
Although it started out as Brian being the student and my being the teacher, it's turned out, as most good relationships, that there's been this wonderful exchange of knowledge that we've shared with each other. Because in putting yourself on the line to be as vulnerable and as open as he is, you have to be if you're going to make a connection. And in that connection, I've learned things about me.
If you're feeling lost and lonely too, I bet sometimes you don't know what to do. Early in the morning when the sun shines through, that's when you get your poor old body to move.
The B side, or the flip side they call it, of Love and Mercy is he couldn't get his poor old body to move. It means that you've got to get your body to move if you expect to have any kind of a lifespan. That's just really the key to it all right there, is exercise and diet.
It's great to see someone coming back stronger than ever and really reminding us of just how good those days were, just how good those records were. And I think that Brian's record is every bit as good as any of the records that the Beach Boys ever made. And I think he's going to make better records still.
Beach Boys was my shell for many years, and now I'm stepping out of that shell and doing something on my own. You know what I mean?
There's so many risks to take, and if I lose, my heart will break. I think I might take a chance on love again. Oh, on love again.
The thing about Brian Wilson that may be even more inspiring than his music is that as a person, he strives to heal. Brian Wilson is a healer. He wants the feeling expressed in his music to make people feel better, to take away the pain from their suffering. And Brian Wilson is really a soul artist in that respect.
We're gonna mend our broken hearts, starting tonight.
There's been enough suffering in the world. There really has. It's time that suffering came to a lesser degree. It's hard enough living. You can't avoid your suffering. Who can avoid it? No one. But I'm saying it can be diminished. That's why people need to be covered. And that's why suffering should be minimized.
To get you in my was sitting in a crummy movie with my hands on my chin. Full of violence that I curse, seemed like we never win. Love and mercy, that's what you need tonight.
The idea that someone's listening is kind of awesome to think that they'd be listening to, scrutinizing what I did, you know, as an artist and a producer. And of course, my executive producer, Dr. Landy, is such a genius at working with me and is so sensitive to my style and my needs as an artist that we molded this album together, he and I, as executive producer and producer. And we had a number of assistant producers throughout the album. Which was hard work, you know, it was some hard work for us all.
Love and mercy, that's what you need tonight. So love and mercy to you and
very contagious, you know. It's a very good way to do things, you know, because it's two minds instead of one. If it's a collaboration, it might start like, he might say, hey, well, I have an idea for a song. I have a title and a basic idea and feeling, and I'll start something and then I'll fax it over to Gene and he'll listen to it and doctor it up, or say, we'll fine-tune.
Doctor it up. That's a good word.
He'll fine-tune it. He'll fine-tune it so that the lyrics are fine-tuned and sound better and are more poetic and ring better.
It's a wonderful album, and I'm just thrilled that Brian wrote and produced and starred in this album, because really the Beach Boys, I think the heart of the Beach Boys has always been Brian. He does things on his records. I don't know, he uses certain instruments, and those ooh-ahs, you know, are Brian. That if you hear it, you know it's Brian. He did it first, and he did it longer and better than anybody else. And you recognize a Beach Boys sound.
This album, to be done solo, was important because he had to realize his own ability. He had to know that he was able to do this, and that he's been doing this all along, and he didn't have to hide under Beach Boys or somebody else's name, that it was him.
Nighttime is kind of the longing for night, and the day is too bright. But obviously, it just ruins my eyes to go outside in the daytime. My eyes are getting sensitive, you know. And for that reason, I wrote a song all about my sensitive eyes called Nighttime.
That's what we'll be, because nighttime is the light time, it's starlight time, and it's the right time for me.
It's the greatest time in the world, nighttime. One of the lines in there goes, so, and there it goes, sun's sinking down, it's getting dark. You know, that the idea that the sun has just dipped below the horizon is a thrilling idea. Rio Grande, Rio Grande, it's raining
Rio Grande, Rio Grande, I'd swim you, but I can't.
Rio Grande is a cowboy song and an Indian song both. That's basically what it was all about. It wasn't Indians and cowboys fighting. It told all about how the little man understands the Indian's upper hand. In other words, it was more of an understanding lyric than it was a fighting lyric.
The first thing we did was we wrote a cowboy song, but nothing too serious, nothing too great, you know. It wasn't like the greatest song in the whole world. It was a good song. And Gene turned around and said, well, let's make it a suite. We'll make that, we'll go in and do 5, 6 different sections. You know, I said, we've got something going here. I've never tried a rock opera before, you know.
Cherokee Trail, Cherokee Trail, I'm like all alone. Cherokee Trail, Cherokee Trail, I can't find my way back home.
It really does get going. It's probably the greatest single thing we've ever done, I've ever done in my solo album.
He's alive, he's well, he's doing what he should be doing, which is, first and most important, enjoying his life.
I feel that in the making of this record, once in a while I'll say, what is my thanks? What is my thanks? I'll hit myself in the head. What is my thanks for creating this, you know? And I won't get an answer, you know what I mean? And I say, well, the thanks is in the giving. You know, when you give of yourself, that's the thanks itself. The reward is in the giving. It's all in the giving. It's all in the doing. The reward is in the doing. If I got a hold of that notion a while ago, and I haven't left it yet. you know? I haven't let go of that idea. I'm much happier now since I went through a couple of those kind of trips. Much happier.
I want people to understand that we make music for them in that they can listen to something that gives them a sense of belonging and a sense of well-being.